Replacing the ignition switch in a 4th gen Maxima. You only need a couple of hand tools. Regular Phillips head screwdriver, preferably a number 2. They fit the screws the best. You need a smaller tipped Phillips head screwdriver for the ignition switch screws themselves, and either a 10mm nut driver or a ratchet with a 10mm socket on it. First, obviously, you start off. There's 2 screws at the bottom of this lower dash panel, if I can find it. There it is. 2. And this just pulls right off. Fuse box cover goes flying. Unplug that. Problem solved. Now, there's that panel for the knees you're going to have to remove. It's safety equipment. Use 10mm nut driver, 10mm socket on a ratchet. I probably need a ratchet. They'll probably be pretty tight. I had already loosened these for the video, so just need a nut driver. This pulls right off. There are 6 screws in here. The 4 outer ones, they hold the 2 pieces together. And there's 2 in the center right here that hold this bottom piece to the steering column. Now you're going to go ahead and just pull this off. Don't need that. You go ahead and pull this down. There's an ignition switch surround over here that just pops right off. And this whole section pulls down. Ignore this, that's parking light wire for the remote start, and really need to redo that. But then right here, see if I can focus, autofocus. There we go. There's your ignition switch. And remove this light stock connector so you can see it. There's your ignition switch. And for an overall view, it's right here. You see it's got these 2 screws that hold it in. Your key goes in directly on the opposite side of this. This little tang that comes into the ignition switch and turns it so you can get all your power and whatnot. Now you take your smaller Phillips head screwdriver and take out these 2 little screws rather. And the smaller screwdriver works best. The second one. And the whole ignition switch just pulls right out. There you go. You can see in here, in the back of the lock cylinder, there's a little tab. And that little tab goes into this little notch in the back of the ignition switch. Now, let's see a tab again. The tab just moves back and forth with the key, as you can see. Now, besides the steering lock, you really don't even need that. The key cylinder, but this isn't a video on how to steal a 4th gen. So here's the ignition switch. See how it works? You just turn it. Simple as that. Now, one member on the org, D-Bear, he's noticed that sometimes there's some slop in between this tab here and the notch it goes into. He recommends putting some electrical tape or some other sort of shim around that to eliminate any slop, and that might fix your issue. Hell, it's a good place to start before you spend $30 on an ignition switch. But yeah. So then just putting it all back together. You gotta notice that the tab in the lock cylinder, it's got a locating pin on top, and as this one you can see, it has one as well. So you just want to line those up, though really there's no way to install it incorrectly. Well, I'm sure there is, but we won't get into that. That was my screwdriver. And it's all just putting them back together. Oops. Magnetized screwdriver always helps. And of course, before you put everything else back together, you want to go ahead and make sure that it works, so you don't waste the time of having to tear it back all apart again, because that's always really fun. Stick this in here. If I can actually get it on, there we go. This thing you just got to kind of play with. It's got little pins on it right here. I have to slide into corresponding holes on the bottom cover, and also don't forget the surround around the ignition cylinder. That sometimes can be a pain in the ass to put in there, right? But oops, exactly. Just kind of snap it together. If you did unplug the light stock, you want to go ahead and obviously plug that back in, or else you won't have headlights or turn signals or fogs, and that's no fun, especially at night. It's the kind of things that you don't realize until it's nighttime. You want to turn on your lights and you realize, oh shit, I forgot to plug that back in. Not good. So again, you just screw it together. A lot of times it'll catch up on stuff, and you gotta kind of wiggle it around until it all lines up pretty well. Obviously, if you have all 6 screws, it lines up a lot better than mine with 4, but minor details. Considered weight reduction. I'm going to snap it back into place and just checking them all to make sure. Good. Now back to here. Go ahead and put this back on. Where it curves out at the top, you see these little locating tangs here, prongs. They go into hitch. They go into these little slots right here on the bottom, and that's where the bolt goes through. You got to slide them into there. Get that on there. And there you go. Throw those bolts back in. Obviously, you don't want to manhandle these. They're only 6mm threads. They won't take more than probably about 20 foot-pounds, 30 at the most, before they just shear right off. So if you plan on going Hulk on it, don't. That's done. And of course, the lower dash panel. I'm going to check to make sure your clips are there. Mine aren't here. And on the other side as well. Now again, should you want to disable that annoying ass bell, that buzzer, it's right here. I'll show you here. Oh, duh. Of course, it sounds a lot different when this is in place, but problem solved. I leave it in just because other people drive my car a lot and they always forget to turn off the headlights. He knows who he is. Now, it's the easy part, obviously, just and you are done. It's ignition switch replacement on a 4th gen Maxima. 5th gen I imagine is just about the same, but I haven't seen many reports of their ignition switch issues. Not nearly as much as the 4th gen anyway. Yeah.